your trusted partner for business and residency in Lithuania.
Welcome back to Global Pathways. I'm Maya, and today we're unpacking one of the most common questions we get from international investors looking at Europe. Should you choose Lithuania or Portugal for residency by investment? Both are in the European Union. Both are part of Schengen. But in practice, they are built on very different systems and expectations. To explain this properly, I'm joined by Tom from Pathways.lt, who works directly with investors on residency strategy, company structuring, and long-term relocation planning in Lithuania. Tom, welcome.
Thanks, Maya. This comparison is important because people often assume all residency by investment programs work the same way. Lithuania and Portugal really don't.
Let's start with the fundamentals. What does residency by investment actually mean in Lithuania compared to Portugal?
Portugal operates what most people recognize as a classic golden visa. You make a qualifying investment and receive a residence permit, usually without needing to run a business or live there full time. Lithuania is different. There is no passive golden visa model. Residency through investment in Lithuania is business-based. You either start a company or invest into one, and that company must be real, active, and compliant. So right away, the mindset is different.
That difference shows up clearly when we talk about investment amounts. How much does someone actually need to invest?
In Lithuania, the numbers are clear. For a single investor, the minimum investment starts from €28,000. If there are multiple investors, up to a maximum of 3, the minimum is €14,000 per investor, as long as the total company investment meets the required threshold, and each investor holds at least 33%. This is not passive capital. The money must be invested into the company and reflected in its real operations. Portugal, by contrast, requires much higher amounts. Current golden visa routes typically start from around €250,000, and more commonly €500,000 or more, depending on the option chosen.
So Lithuania is clearly more accessible from a capital perspective, but requires involvement.
Exactly, lower entry cost, higher responsibility.
Let's talk about residency and long-term status, because this is where a lot of confusion exists. How does permanent residency work in Lithuania?
This is an important correction many people need to hear. In Lithuania, permanent residency can be achieved much earlier than citizenship, depending on how the investor structures their involvement. If the investor chooses to be active, meaning they genuinely operate the business and pay themselves a qualifying salary with the required taxes, they can fast-track permanent residency in 3 years. If the investor chooses a more passive role, permanent residency is typically available after 5 years of continuous temporary residence. Citizenship is a separate process.
So permanent residency and citizenship are not the same thing.
Correct. And this distinction is critical. Lithuanian citizenship through naturalization usually requires around 10 years of holding temporary residence permits, along with language, integration, and other legal requirements. Permanent residency comes much earlier. Citizenship is the long game.
How does that compare to Portugal?
Portugal has been popular because it historically allowed people to apply for citizenship after about 5 years of legal residency, even with minimal physical presence. However, processing delays and political discussions about tightening naturalization rules mean investors need to watch Portugal carefully. Lithuania's system is slower for citizenship, but more predictable.
So who should realistically choose Lithuania?
Lithuania is ideal for investors who want a lower capital entry point, are comfortable running or overseeing a real business, want earlier permanent residency in 3 or 5 years, and are focused on long-term EU presence rather than quick citizenship. It rewards substance and commitment.
And Portugal?
Portugal suits investors who prefer passive investment, can deploy higher capital, want very low physical stay requirements, and are primarily focused on a faster citizenship pathway, if the rules remain favourable.
So this really comes down to intent and strategy.
Exactly. Portugal asks, can you invest money? Lithuania asks, can you build and maintain something real? Neither approach is wrong. They're just designed for different profiles.
Tom, thank you for clarifying this, especially the permanent residency timelines, because that's where many people get misled.
My pleasure. Getting these details right saves people years and a lot of money.
And to our listeners, if you're comparing residency by investment options in Europe, don't just look at passports or marketing headlines. Look at capital requirements, activity expectations, and how permanent residency is actually achieved. That's how you make the right decision. Thanks for listening to Global Pathways. We'll see you in the next episode.